Yo, welcome back to the Hard Times podcast here in Los Angeles, California. Week 2 is finally over and we have a lot of news to discuss with you guys today. My name is Armando Belchan. Once again, this is Alex Acosta. Let's get into week 2, man. Week 2, what it was. How about them Packers, bro? How about them tie?
Hold up. Week 2 was a ass whooping.
Oh, don't even mention that fantasy.
So, the boy right here just whooped this motherfucker's ass. So,
fantasy football, man. OBJ, if you're watching, man, you cost my team a win. Isaiah Corral, if you're watching, bro, you cost my team a win. How you gonna make me lose to this guy? This guy put up 90 points last week and I lost to him.
So it's a great start to the week, ladies and gentlemen. Week 2 is over. Week 3 is underway and you're ready for your sit-ems and stardoms. So let's just jump right into it. All right, so we're gonna start with the heart of the lineup in most of your fantasy teams, and that's going to be the running back position.
Running back position.
All right, so running backs had a pretty decent week last week.
Running backs went off last week.
And we got some insights on some running backs to start this week as well.
Awesome. Running back starting this week. I'm excited for this week's running back. Very low-key running back. Very someone who's really solidifying his name in this NFL coming up. Last year, the whole franchise went crazy because they traded their star running back away. And they had their flip-flopping running backs last year. But this year, Kenyon Drake from the Miami Dolphins is really taking away that running back position. This year they came into it really deciding whether they're going to go Drake, whether they're going to go Williams like they did last year. But Kenyon Drake has he's gone off both weeks, you know. Week 1, Kenyon Drake went off to 10 points. Not bad. 10 points out of a running back 2 position or your flex. It's not the worst team in the world. 17 points week 2. He came back. He bounced back. And I expect another big week out of him. They're playing the Oakland Raider defense. The Oakland Raider defense, I mean, they're second to last in run defense. I mean, they're getting yards against that defense. And Kenyon Drake, you know, he has a touchdown, 101 yards. You can't go wrong with that.
Kenyon Drake looking good.
Most definitely.
Right? And that Miami offense, they're 2-0 now. So, hey, they not too bad.
They're cooking out there.
For me, I like Breida. Breida had a good game last week. He comes back this week, faces the worst defense in the NFL, the Chiefs. Right? So, look. I don't know if you know this, but Breida is the leading rusher so far this year after 2 weeks. So far he has taken, I feel, more of that role away from Alfred Morris. And I feel that he's going to be a greater impact this week. Last week he played Detroit. This week he's going and he's playing Kansas City. So getting more involved as well too now in the passing game. So he doubled his receptions from the week prior to last week. So I'm looking for Matt Breida to have a more solid game against Kansas City and that terrible defense. Who's another start for you?
Well, before we go into another start, I want to give you credit because last week you said Matt Braida's going to take away that Redskins running back position. I went in with Alfred Morris because I thought he had it, but Matt Braida's, you know, he really helped you out. He really helped you that credibility right there.
He was definitely a bright spot on my team last week.
On his bench.
For sure.
But they still won. But on his bench.
I need him.
All right, so my second running back start this week, I'm going to go back to the Steel City. 0-1-1, but James Conner has been the only bright spot about that Pittsburgh Steelers offense this year. Antonio Brown, not so much this year. James Conner's really solidified himself and not having the Pittsburgh fans worry about Le'Veon Bell so much. James Conner, 39 points week 1, 20 points week 2. A favorable matchup this week in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I'm worried about my team, but I'm happy about the future in James Conner. Le'Veon Bell, you know, if you don't want to play, then James Conner's going to step in that role and take that role right away, man.
Yeah, definitely. So, Mondo, do you think that he's a must-start at this point?
In my opinion, I'm going to go ahead and say James Conner is a must-start in your leagues as a running back 1, running back 2, or even as your flex, only because how much the Pittsburgh Steelers really rely on that run game when Big Ben isn't clicking. Big Ben doesn't really click till the second half, and James Conner is getting 40 attempts. He's had 40 attempts in 2 weeks, so 20 attempts a game, and that's points right there. So go ahead and start James Conner.
All right, nice. So I know that we're in a keeper league, right? So for us, James Conner is pretty big of a keeper. So what do you feel like? Let's say Bell comes back. What do you think about James Conner in the future?
Well, in the future, like I said, if Le'Veon Bell comes back this year, signs that franchise tag. You see the receipt history. They're not going to re-sign Le'Veon Bell. The Steelers are not willing to pay him that money. And even if they do, there's a lot of teams out there that really use that dual running back threat to use. Look at Tevin Coleman. Look at Devontae Freeman. They still average 15, 10 points a game. So James Conner is definitely someone I would not consider dropping. Definitely someone to consider keeping if you have in the keeper league.
Stash him, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Bell doesn't come back. Even if he does, I still think he's gonna have a nice role. Very valuable. Right. So another start for me this week is going to be a running back from Washington and Chris Thompson. So Chris Thompson is going up against the Packers this week. And the reason why I like him, especially in PPR formats, that's where he's the most valuable, is last week he had 14 targets from Alex Smith in the back end, and he had 13 receptions. So 13 receptions coming from your running back is crazy. So he's not getting the rushing attempts that he would want, as Adrian Peterson and Kelly are taking that from him, but he is getting those passes. And Washington, you know what? They are passing the ball. So for me, I love Chris Thompson against the Packers defense, who are actually ranked 26 in passing defense. So he has a great opportunity this week to continue to strive there with Alex Smith. So I like Chris Thompson against Green Bay.
And on that Chris Thompson topic, it's good to have a running back that catches the ball out of the backfield. For example, Christian McCaffrey, Dion Lewis, those running backs are valuable to your teams because they get receptions as well as run the ball. So Chris Thompson, that's definitely a great starter right there.
Chris Thompson was my start last week, and he went off.
Yeah, so it's definitely a great start right there.
Yeah, Chris Thompson, I like you this week.
All right, on to the wide receivers. Wide receivers, I'm gonna go ahead and go with.
Wait. Oh, I didn't give you my sit.
You're right. I'm moving a little bit too fast. You're getting too excited for my wide receiver
Hold
stuff.
up.
I'm a little bit too excited because I got a good wide receiver start this week, but you're right.
Hold up.
You want to start the sits? You want me to start off with the sits?
You know what? You'll take it. Go for it.
My sit this week, big old name, Shady McCoy. LaShawn McCoy, I want you. You're a great running back, but you're not producing this year. I think the tires are getting flat. You're not as shifty as you were previous year with the Eagles, even last year with Buffalo Bills. He was a valuable running back, and he still went high in this year's draft, but he's just not producing. And that has to do with the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator, the offensive line. They're just not getting those plays, and they're just not producing. Week 1, he only had 3 points. Week 2, he bounced back with 10 points. But if your name is LaShawn McCoy and you established your name in this league as a primary running back, 10 points is just not going to cut it anymore. 10 points, I'm expecting that out of my flex or someone I'm bouncing back and forth on my bench. But if your name is LaShawn McCoy and I'm expecting you to be out there, I picked you high in my draft and you're my running back number 1, 10 points is not going to cut it, and 3 points is not going to cut it.
Not at all. And I know that McCoy's actually coming off the reports. Reports show that he has a cracked rib as well too, so he's a questionable play. And even with the cracked rib, getting tackled, that's gonna be hurting.
Especially with that front four from Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't really see him doing too well.
Yeah, of course.
So for me this week, my sit of the week is going to be Royce Freeman against the Baltimore Ravens. So I know a lot of you guys have been very high on Royce Freeman. A lot of you invested some higher draft picks on him as well too. So far this year, he has not been anything great. So he's going against a very tough defense in the Baltimore Ravens, who have allowed 0 rushing touchdowns so far this year. So they are tremendous against the run. They're the number 2 defense in yards per game allowed as well too. So he has a very tough matchup. He's already losing the target reps to Lindsey. I don't feel that he's going to be a good start this week, so I'd be very cautious in starting Royce Freeman. So sit him in your teams this week, ladies and gentlemen.
Especially because Royce Freeman is not, like you said, not getting that many attempts. Like Philip Lindsay, the rookie running back that we'll get into a little bit later, he's really emerging as that number 1 threat in Denver.
Yeah, so sit Royce Freeman.
All right, most definitely. On to the wide receivers.
So you're excited, right?
Like I said, I was excited. Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm expecting some Enzo dances this weekend. I'm expecting a nice little Dragon Ball Z thing you did last year, a Naruto thing you did last week. Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm excited for the red zone this week. He has a great matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're 2-0, but they don't have a good defense. They're 2-0 because Ryan Fitzpatrick and the offense is just clicking. But their defense, their secondary is not as strong, and Juju Smith is not the main focal point of that Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiving core. It's Antonio Brown. And you're not going to double team Juju Smith when you have Antonio Brown on your team. It just doesn't make any sense for the Buccaneers to do that. Juju Smith-Schuster, 21 points week 1. 32 points, 36 points week 2, projected about 15 points this week. But like I said, a red zone threat. Big Ben loves his big targets in the red zone. Juju Smith-Schuster is definitely someone to start for me this week, most definitely.
Okay, cool. So Juju's you. So for me,
oh, Juju Smith, baby.
All right. So remember, guys, all these picks that we're playing are more than likely going to be a flex play option for you guys. So I want to make sure that I help you guys with the who do I start there at the flex. So my start this week is going to be Devin Fuentes of the Carolina Panthers. So he's going up against Cincinnati this week, who's a 30th ranked pass defense. So they're actually pretty bad against the pass, considering that Greg Olsen is still going to be out, and they picked up Christian McCaffrey last week with way more reps and way more touches. They're going to go ahead and then plan for him. So I feel like Devin Fuentes is going to be able to outperform the secondary of the Cincinnati defense, and I feel that he's going to get into the end zone this week as well too and have a great game. So look for Devin Fuentes to have a solid outing this week against Cincinnati.
Most definitely. My second start of the week, someone I have on my team and someone that I didn't put in my lineup last week that kind of cost me the game against Alex, but I'm definitely putting him in my lineup this week as a flex position like you mentioned. And that's Will Fuller out of the Houston Texans. Will Fuller coming off an injury, but at the same time, dating back to last year, he's one of Deshaun Watson's favorite targets to go downfield and really help him out. Will Fuller had a big week. He put up 32 points on my bench. Unfortunately, out over 150 yards, had a touchdown pass. And he's going against a team that doesn't have a great defense in the New York Giants. They have 0-2. They weren't able to stop no wide receiver core in Dak Prescott. So I'm expecting a big week out of Will Fuller. Deshaun Watson seemed like he's clicking, seemed like he's starting to get things going. And Will Fuller, like I said, he's a big target. He's one of Deshaun Watson's favorite, and he gets those receptions. Receptions are points, everyone. Michael Thomas on my team, he gets points because he averages 12+ receptions a game. So receptions is key, and if your quarterback has that chemistry with the wide receiver, that's definitely someone you want to consider putting in that lineup.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a good one there. Another start for me this week is a player by the name of Keenan Cole.
Keenan Cole, okay.
So from Jacksonville. So I like the way that this guy's been playing. He moves really quick. He's not the fastest runner on that team behind D.D. Westbrook, of course, but he's the one that is getting the most love from Blake Bortles. This week he's going up against the Tennessee Titans, who had a surprising week this week as well too. But I feel that he has a really great matchup against that secondary. So Keenan Cole looking to pick up more targets this week and have a great outing. So look for him right there against Tennessee.
On to our sits of the week. My sit of the week is that someone we could both agree on, but I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about it, and that's Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald has been Mr. Reliable for over... He's been on that Arizona team for a while. He was with the Super Bowl when they were against the Steelers. He had that big playoff game against the Packers, but... You know, eventually age catches up to receivers, and eventually when you don't have quarterbacks throwing you the ball, it's hard to start someone like Larry Fitzgerald. Not taking anything away from Larry Fitzgerald. I know he's a great wide receiver, but your quarterbacks just aren't going to get you those points. Sam Bradford hasn't really produced this year as the Arizona Cardinals wanted him to. Josh Rosen seems like he's not ready to step into that quarterback role. And Larry Fitzgerald's also going against a tough Chicago Bear defense, who's really shut down the last two teams wide receiver-wise with the Seattle Seahawks last week. They only had that one touchdown of Tyler Lockett. Really, it was a good catch by Tyler Lockett. But, Larry Fitzgerald, like I said, when your quarterback is not good, it's hard to start people like that. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to catch balls without a decent quarterback. And Sam Bradford's just not doing good.
I get you there. So, for me, I believe that Fitzgerald is an elite player. He's going to get targets. But, yeah, he has a bad matchup this week against the Bears. You know that they're going to really try to lock him down. And they actually have linebackers who can line up on the slot against him as well too. So they got some speedsters there. So yeah, Fitz definitely, I don't see him having the best game this week. So my sit of this week is going to be Emmanuel Sanders. So I actually have two. So Emmanuel Sanders this week, so he is playing up against the number 2 defense in Baltimore. So for me, they are going to take away Emmanuel Sanders' ability to have those quick catches. right? So, look for him to get shut down and them to focus on shutting him down, allowing other players to be more open. But Emmanuel Sanders, I just don't like the Broncos so much this week against Baltimore. But going into my second sit is going to be Aninwa. So from the Jets. So this is going to be more based off of the fact that they have a short week. They're going into Thursday. They're playing the Browns, who are definitely an upside team. But the reason I don't like this play is just Sam Darnold has not had an opportunity to rest for 4 days and then go into a game. Let alone has he had any real opportunities to prepare for a game. So I just don't think that he's going to be able to feed Ninwa the way that you guys have seen. So look for the Browns to shut him down and him not to get as many targets as he's used to.
Most definitely. You say it's hard for a rookie quarterback to really transfer into that 4-day week, Yeah. You're used to that Sunday to Sunday, but Sunday to Thursday, it's very rare. Even quarterbacks you saw last week, Joe Flacco struggled a little bit. Andy Dalton struggled a little bit. It's just that quick turnaround is very, like you mentioned, very hard to start someone on a week like that.
Yep, definitely.
So on to the quarterbacks?
So we're going to go on to our quarterbacks.
My first quarterback start of the week. Thank you for coming back. Carson Wentz, welcome back to the NFL. I just want to welcome back Carson Wentz. A tough injury last year. It sucked to see him go down. The Eagle team had a great season last year. They ended up winning the Super Bowl, but I wish Carson Wentz was there in that Super Bowl. But I feel like Carson Wentz is out to get someone this year. Carson Wentz wants to, don't let people forget who his name is. A lot of people not really slept on Carson Wentz, but it's not really mentioned because of that injury, People are talking about the Tom Brady's, Aaron Rodgers, the Drew Brees, but Carson Wentz is elite. He's an elite quarterback. And Carson Wentz has a favorable matchup against the Colts this week. Not a great defense. They're giving up 21 points a game. Carson Wentz coming off an injury. I expect a big week out of him. There's definitely a risk-reward. It's a toss-up. But I feel like Carson Wentz is definitely someone you want to consider starting over a quarterback who's been struggling, like a Mariota, like you said, who has started last week, or someone like Russell Wilson, who definitely struggled last week as well.
Definitely. So for me, my start this week is going to be the real deal, Mr. Patrick Mahomes. Oh. So this guy is put up 10 touchdowns so far. So he's leading the league in touchdowns. 10 touchdowns. And this week he as well too has a great matchup. He's playing the San Francisco 49ers at the San Francisco 49ers there. So he's put up about 582 passing yards as well too. So his completions and his pass attempts are actually one of the lowest in the NFL because the Chiefs aren't a pass-happy team, but he has been the most efficient with those attempts. So look for Patrick Mahomes to continue that going with another favorable matchup in the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah. So that's another one for me right there, Mr. Mahomes, and then go pick him up.
Yeah, on a little bit about Mahomes too. That passer rating is really efficient. He's second in the league in passing rating. So that's really, so for a rookie quarterback, that's it's not a rookie quarterback. We're someone who's really going into it. It's good for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it is.
And then my second quarterback stardom of this week, I'm gonna go ahead and go with Jimmy Garoppolo out of the San Francisco 49ers, back on the Kansas City Chiefs defense. You mentioned it earlier, not a great defense. They're ranked last in defense. They gave up a lot of points, averaging 32 points a week. And Jimmy Garoppolo had a big week last week against that Detroit Lions defense. He had put up 32 points, 3 touchdowns. So I'm expecting Jimmy Garoppolo to get some receiving yards, get some touching yards. Just go out there and Jimmy Garoppolo just have a big week this week.
All right, so you got Jimmy G, I got Patrick Mahomes. So we got a high-scoring game in our hands.
I'm expecting a big scoring game.
I think we got a nice high-scoring game this week.
So definitely.
That's gonna be nice there. So for my second stardom this week is gonna be a quarterback who had a rough start, had a solid second week, in Mr. Matt Ryan. So this week he's going up against another rival in the New Orleans Saints. So you already know that's going to be an action-packed game. It's going to be high scoring as well too. So look for Matt Ryan to have another solid outing against the New Orleans Saints.
Matt Ryan cost me a loss last week. He has Matt Ryan in his team. Matt Ryan outperformed Drew Brees last week. I have Drew Brees. He has Matt Ryan. So Matt Ryan's definitely, that's a great start. I like that start right there.
That's gonna be my quarterback right there.
Awesome. So I'm gonna move on to the tight ends. Tight end position, like I said, if you watched 6 quarterbacks.
For our quarterback sits.
I'm so excited.
Man, you're excited for all these starts, huh?
I'm excited for everything, man.
We need to help them who not to start. Come on.
I know.
So who's your sit-up?
My sit this week, I'm gonna go ahead and sit someone I started last week, and that's Case Keenum. Like you said, the Ravens defense, their defense is performing this year. The Ravens defense has a great defense this year, and Case Keenum, you know, like you said, to sit Emmanuel Sanders. So just that connection right there. Just it's harder to, you know, it's hard to get out there when you have a defense. You know, it's hard to game plan for that. It's hard to put a game plan, a blueprint, and really cut course on those defenses. Case Keenum had a big week last week, but eventually, all the good must fall. I'm expecting Case Keenum not to have such a big week this week.
All right. So my sit-em this week is a guy who is playing on Monday night against the Buccaneers, actually, and Mr. Ben Roethlisberger.
Really?
So we all know his spreads between home and away, and this week he is playing away on Monday night against the Buccaneers. Now, the Buccaneers have been favorable against the quarterbacks, but I know that Ben Roethlisberger had a very solid outing last week, and I don't think that he's going to put up a 15-plus point game. So if he is a quarterback that you are looking to start over another quarterback that you might have, look to start the other quarterback due to the fact that Ben Roethlisberger is not reliable when he is away.
Yeah, the difference between a home and away game is definitely different. Yeah,
it's a huge difference with Big Ben.
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier last week. Actually, we mentioned it last week. On to the tight ends. Like I said, I was excited to get to the tight ends. It's like moving fast out here. My tight ends start this week. I'm going to go with the... Let's stick on that game. I'm going to go with the opposing team. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. My tight end start this week is going to be O.J. Howard. Out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, O.J. Howard, you know, he had a great rookie campaign last year. He really solidified himself as a #1 tight end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, week 1, 7 points. Not, you know, as a tight end, we like to see it about, 10 points, you would say?
Yeah, from a tight end, we're looking at least 10 points. If they don't put up 10 points, they did not do their job.
And then week 2, he came back with a 21-point game. And, you know, he's getting receptions. 5 receptions on the year, 150 yards. But big key thing about O.J. Howard that your league might have certain bonuses on is turning yards after, so receptions past 20, 30 yards. You know, there's some bonuses for longer receptions. And this year, O.J. Howard has 5 receptions over 20 yards. So he's getting those deep ball threats, and that's definitely little perks and bonuses points that won't really matter, but those little 1 points can make that difference on why you should start someone like O.J. Howard.
Yeah, definitely. Nice. So for me, my tight end start this week is actually the tight end that I told you to sit last week, and that's Jared Cook. So last week he did not do stellar. He had only 4 targets, and that is a complete cut to what he had in week 1. He hauled in all 4 of them actually, so that's the good thing. But he only had 49 yards this week. So last week he did not have the best matchup. This week I look for him to bounce back against Miami. So Miami actually has a pretty stout defense, which is why I feel that he's going to have a better matchup against Miami's secondary. So look for him to get higher targets this week, get him more involved in the passing game. So Jared Cook to bounce back against Miami at Miami.
Yeah, it's a good one. Second start of the week, I'm gonna go with Mr. David Njoku. Last week, you know, we're still on the whole. I started sitting last week, starting this week. This week, you know, it's a short week, but like I said, it's a favorable matchup. The Jets, you know, the Jets we thought they were high, they fell off last week. You know, they didn't have a great performance last week, and it's a short game. And those wide receivers, you know, they get tired out there, so I expect little dump-off passes to Njoku. I really expect him to get in those flats and really get slept on with the little play-action passes, a little block cut, going out to the flats, a little small dump-out passes. Like I said, as long as you get those receptions, those are points right there. So with Josh Gordon being traded to the Patriots, that just leaves Jarvis Landry, and David Njoku is the #2 option now. So David Njoku, I'm expecting a bigger workload this week out of him. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, the loss of Josh Gordon is going to open up the field for Njoku. So now he looks like he's going to be a #2, maybe #3 option behind Duke Johnson. So for me, if I am looking at another start, and it's actually another tight end that I told you to sit last week, and that's Mr. Kittle from San Francisco. So last week I told you to sit him. this week he has a good matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs, who we already told you is the worst defense in the NFL. So considering the fact that his wide receivers are either hurt or cannot get open, which is Dennis Pitta. He only had, one reception last week. So I'm looking for Kittle to get more involved, more dump passes to them. And I'm looking for Jimmy Garoppolo to be dumping off to the running backs and the tight ends. So I look for Kittle to have a good game next week, and probably he's going to put up a touchdown as well too.
Yeah, and Jimmy Garoppolo has really shown that he has trust in George Kittle. He's looking at him. He's giving him those targets, and that's promising to see for someone you want to definitely start.
Yeah, so you're looking at the opportunity, and Kittle has the opportunity this week.
Yeah, most definitely. So we're going to move on to the sits of our tight ends. I also know the sits. We're going to move on to the sits. I'm not excited no more. We're going to the sits of the tight end. This week I'm going to go ahead and sit Ricky Seals-Jones from the Arizona Cardinals. Not a big name. I mean, this might be the first time you're hearing about it, but he's being picked up due to injuries with Delaney Walker, Greg Olsen, so he's definitely getting pushed into those starting lineups. But I'm going to go ahead and sit him this week only because he's going against a tough defense in the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears defense definitely a defense you want to highlight because they're really performing. They're really emphasizing that they're here to play this year. There's a defense that's really going to attack. And when you have Khalil Mack coming off the edge, I feel like Ricky Seals-Jones is going to be more of a pass block tight end this week instead of going out for those receptions, only because you don't need to block Khalil Mack. You don't need to block Roquan Smith. So he's going to be they'll probably run the two tight end sets a little bit more this week, and I would expect him not to be more of a receiving threat, but more of a blocking threat this year. It's definitely something you would consider sitting.
Okay, so my sit this week is going to be Mr. Evan Ingram.
Okay.
So Evan Ingram is facing the Houston defense this week. So we already know that they are going to be pressuring Eli Manning. So I look for them to either block a little bit more, maybe not go in as many spread offenses, but I just feel that Evan Ingram doesn't have a matchup. I think that OBJ is going to get back on track, going to get the targets and the receptions that he normally would have, and Sterling Shepard as well too. So I feel that Sterling Shepard would be a better play over Ingram. But Evan Ingram, I feel that he's going to be a sit this week. So a lot of you drafted him to start. You do have some other options as well too available on the waivers, like a Mr. Kittle, like a Mr. Cook, that I would definitely start over Ingram.
Yeah, and like I mentioned before, the same thing with Evan Ingram. That Giants the offensive line is not blocking for Eli Manning, and when you have J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney coming off the edge, you don't need to keep someone like Evan Ingram inside the line to block.
Yes, so yeah, don't start Evan Ingram this week.
So onto
our defenses then.
All right, my defensive start for this week. With the defenses, it's kind of hard, you chip chop. But I'm going to go like a little, not necessarily a mainstream defense, but someone that I'm going to guarantee points. And that's the defense that I actually have. That's the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles really let a lot of people down last week. Fitzpatrick, I wasn't expecting a big game out of him, but he cooked that Eagle defense off. But I'm expecting a bigger game this week. They're back at home and they're playing Andrew Luck. Like Andrew Luck, he's getting back into the groove. He's getting back into that everyday, playing every week, playing everything. Andrew Luck, he's accustomed to throwing some interceptions here and there. And the offensive line for the Indiana Colts is not one of the best offensive lines. So I'm expecting a lot of sacks from the outside rushers like Fletcher Cox, Michael Bennett, Kendricks from the inside. I expect that secondary, you can't go wrong with Sidney Jones, Darby, Jalen Mills. So I feel like the Eagles' defense is definitely a mainstream defense, but something you definitely want to keep in that lineup this week.
All right, nice. So another, I guess, more mainstream defense as well too, who I like to start this week is the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikings are facing the Bills this week. So they're at home as well too. As we know, the Bills have been awful when it comes to moving the ball. And then they might be out Shady McCoy, and even if he plays, he's going to be hurt. So I feel that they are going to take advantage of any quarterback that they put out there on the field against them. So look for the Vikings to have a lot of turnovers as well too, for it to be a low-scoring game, or for them to hold the Bills under the 10 points there. So look for the Vikings. Great start this week with a great matchup.